Back when I was still doing online classes and shit, I spent most of my time watching anime through class. I would join the Zoom cloud and lower the volume to like 10%, then tab out and go watch anime or something not boring. I'm not gonna lie, Zoom class was some beginner level shit. I had remote classes for like half my freshman year, and for my whole sophomore year I had Zoom classes. So almost half of my whole high school shit was on Zoom. I didn't listen to almost any of my classes at all, and I still did pretty decent for my grades. My friend was doing basically the same thing, and at the same time he was really on his manga arc. He would just be reading dozens and dozens of mangas in a month, and just binge the fuck out of them. I would talk to him, and within 24 hours he'd read on a whole different manga. And I remember one time him sending me the MC of the Sunken Rock manga, and I thought it was Senku. I wasn't reading any mangas besides like One Piece, so I had no idea what people were reading manga wise, or that it even existed. I can't be the only one though that thought kinda looked like Senku from Dr. Stone. It's literally Senku, same hair, same face, but plus sized. I thought they had a whole bodybuilding arc or some shit in Dr. Stone. Like they had a whole time skip in the manga, and then Senku came back buff as fuck. He was feeding me a story a little bit, and kinda telling me that it was Senku indirectly. He made it believable that that was actually Senku. But then he told me for from another manga called Sunken Rock. But the author for Sunken Rock is the same illustrator for Dr. Stone, so that explains a lot. We talked about it a little bit how he looked like Senku, but we never talked about it past that cause I wasn't that interested. Now fast forward like over a year later and I decided to read it for myself. I'm kind of on my own manga arc myself, like how my friend was, and now I'm starting to read more and more shit. I really had no clue what Sunken Rock was about before reading it. Besides the Senku doppelganger shit, I wasn't trying to know what it was about or anything. So only when I started reading it that I learned it's about gangster stuff. More specifically South Korean gangs and syndicates and all that, like real underground criminal stuff. I'm only on like chapter 30 at this point, so I'm not even halfway through the series. But it's already a lot more realistic than any other gang type of anime I've seen. I mean, I can't really confirm it since I'm not a gangster. I'm just a civilian ass nigga. But I'd imagine this is a lot more closer to Asian gang culture than shit like Tokyo Revengers. And I think Tokyo Revengers is pretty good, but it's also kinda childish looking, especially compared to Sunken Rock. Really every other manga or anime I've seen with gangsters in it has some sort of other element to it. Stuff like Gangster or Bungo Stray Dogs. They have gangs, but they also have dudes with superpowers. Sunken Rock is really just regular dudes that get into gang activity. It's basically gangsta if it was more detailed about it, and without the superhumans. And Boichi, who's the guy who made the manga, did a lot of shit to make sure he can make it as accurate as he could, like really getting every little detail. I've heard of authors traveling to different locations for inspiration, or to get accurate drawings of locations they want in the manga, but Boishi's like the most extreme case I've seen of this. You have him dangling himself over the edge of buildings, so he can get the best shots he can of the trees from a top perspective. He went to really extreme lengths to make sure he got everything accurate. It's probably the most realistically accurate anime or manga I've seen. The only other ones I can think of that try to be accurate to real life are the historical mangas, like Kingdom, Vagabond, and Villain Saga. But those are all their own stories. They just align it with historical events. They stay on track with how things play out for the most part, like who wins what war and all that. But how they win the war, they take liberties with it. Sunken Rock is the most realistic modern anime I've seen, I'll say. Maybe there's one I can't think of right now, but I can't think of anything close to it. It's for a skit, but for one panel we have one of the gang members go on a rant on why they use sashimi knives instead of real swords and shit. It was done in a joke, but you can tell Boichi did research and shit on how gangs do shit in Korea to make it really immersive. The overall goal for Sunken Rock is for Ken to have his gang eventually grow to be really influential. But it's not the same as other mangas that try to do the same thing. In other mangas they just go over and beat the shit out of the other gang, then they take it over, and that's pretty much the whole process of it. But in Sunken Rock it's a lot less clear cut than what other mangas make it out to be. There's a lot of times where they get backlash from fighting other gangs, and it affects people around them. It's not the first manga to do this, but I feel the repercussions from it the most. People they know get kidnapped, and a lot of fucked up shit gets done to them. Like I mean some real traumatizing shit, like watching a Sweet and Sour video, and I didn't really mention it yet, but the art is really good if you're wondering, or couldn't tell yet. Boichi has a really distinct art style, and I can see a transfer from Dr. Stone to Sunken Rock. The faces and body proportions are really similar, but with a lot more detailing, especially for face expressions. There's a lot more emphasis to it. You can see veins popping and shit when characters are yelling and all that. Definitely one of the top manga artists in general, at least from what I've seen. I mean, I don't know, there might be a manga expert watching, and people like Boichi are a dime a dozen, but I think he's pretty good. There were a couple of panels I couldn't tell if it was just pure art or if it was mixed in with real pictures. I never heard of that type of style, but some panels just straight up look like they were mixed in with real pictures. Boichi says something about realism is what really sells the story, and that's why he spends so much time taking pictures and shit, and it definitely shows and pays off in the art he does for it. The only reason I would recommend this to anyone is if you can't stomach mature stuff, like rape and gore and just violence in general. Just like how some people can't read Berserk because of how much gore is in it, Sunken Rock is the same. I didn't really specify earlier because I was trying to skim over it, but there really is some messed up stuff that happens in the manga. I think it makes the writing for it even better, but it's not for everybody. So if you're like that, probably don't read the manga. But if you aren't, you definitely should, it's really good. If you enjoyed, go watch some of my other shit about anime. That's all I have to say though. Peace.